Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Villa Pride Down Under podcast in Aston Villa followers podcast down here in Australia. Sorry, I was struggling to get my words out there. So today we have myself and Tess. No Rhino today as Rhino's having a bit busy at home. So right, Tess, just the two of us today, mate. How are you going?
Yeah, doing really well, thanks. Been a busy week, and so I was looking forward to jumping on today and having a bit of a conversation. Shame Rhino can't make it today, but he'll be back for the next episode more than likely anyway. So, yeah, really good. But what about yourself?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Good. Tired, but good, happy.
Yeah.
The season's getting close now. It's it's only 2 weekends till the season kicks off now. That wasn't long going because I was only thinking today it'll be 3 months since I was in Birmingham next week, and I'm thinking that was the second last game of the season. So that time has gone really quickly, like that 3 months. And I think it's because the Euros was on as well. There's been no real break of football, and then you're straight into pre-season tour. So yeah, it's just guys have to come around really quickly, isn't it?
Yeah, but the season can't come around quick enough for me. I'm looking forward to another Premier League campaign. So, yeah, really looking forward to it. Obviously, we had the friendlies that have been going on just recently, which have I've been watching when I can. So I've watched most of them live at the time of when they've come on, but then I've had to sort of rewatch some of them just because, you flick in and you flick out during the match and stuff because it's so early in the morning.
Yeah, it's interesting because we had those two preseason games at home against Walsall and what do we have the other one against? Oh, Spartak Trevarnia in Slovakia. So then we got together and flew out for a preseason tour, and we seemed to of the US. And we seem to have kind of taken a lot of the squad, and they're starting to drip feed in. I think maybe Martinez is probably the only one that's not there. Martinez, Watkins, and Kanze,
they're not there.
The ones to think. So, what have you made of the squad so far? And look, obviously we know pre-season games. It's hard to take. It's hard to take too much out from them, but you do get a kind of a general idea. So, what's been your take? So, we started off with the Columbus Crew game. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Tess?
Yeah, Columbus Crew game. Look, to be honest, I with the pre-seasons, just to caveat that I always expect them to just be practice matches. I don't take too much in the results or anything like that. I think it's more about just trying to get some fitness into the legs of these players and stuff and giving them some minutes. So that's my caveat. I watched a Columbus Crew game. Obviously, we didn't win that game. I think it was 4-1 in the end, if I can remember rightly.
Yeah.
Was it 4-1? Yeah. Cameron Archer get a goal in that one.
You got a great goal, actually. Yeah.
It was a good finish, really good finish. Look, it was just really about watching these players, and you could tell from the beginning that they were trying to play in the style of play that we played in last season in terms of the passing out from the back, making sure we've got space and all these sorts of things. So there were a few teething issues, and there were a couple of players who got to play that I hadn't seen play before. I think Feeney was one of those players that played in that game as a centre back.
And Sil Swinkles didn't play in that game as well, didn't he?
Yeah. So there was a few not little, but young players who were sort of making their presence in that first game, which was really a practice match. So there wasn't too much to talk about for that game, to be honest with you. There were a couple of mistakes that were being made in that game, which led to goals. I found that some of the defenders had a little bit of a hard time playing in that kind of structure that we play in when you play from the back. But it was a good exercise for all those players just to get some minutes under their belt. So yeah, not too much else to say much about that one, to be honest with you. Did you see that one?
Yeah, I watched it. Yeah, I think it was very evident that Columbus Crew were mid-season. They're no mugs either. They won the MLS last year. They had some very good players, but I just think there was just a massive difference in the fitness levels.
Huge.
Yeah, and it was always going to be a bigger game for Columbus Crew than it was for Villa. Villa was our first preseason game. It was all about getting minutes in the legs, whereas Columbus Crew are going to be right up for that, like the chance to get a Premier League scat, maybe one or two players make a name for themselves. And the ex-Watford player there, Cucho Hernandez, he tore us apart really. Like he looked really fit firing. Didn't really ever hit it off in the Premier League, but definitely a good player and scores loads of goals over there. But I think he was miles ahead of anything that was on the pitch, really, from like a fitness levels, sharpness. We just weren't nowhere near it. But anybody that expected us to be, well, they want to kind of get a bit of a grip, really, because look, we never want to see the team playing bad, but everybody was playing at about 40% there,
Yeah.
As sad as it is, like, and players should always give 100%, but no one wants to get injured before the season, like, you know what I mean? No one wants to happen what happened to Buendia or Mings in the first game of the season, so yeah, I never really read too much into preseason at all. Like, I mean there's preseasons where Man City have went the whole preseason not winning a game and they go on and win a treble. It's nothing to concern me. I'll be concerned how we go on the opening day against West Ham, I think that Columbus game really, the scoreline. To be honest with you, though, I thought there was passages of play that we actually played some good football at times. Like, as we mentioned, Archer's goal, Rodgers looked to be getting on the ball a lot. So then there's not really a whole pile to say about that game, really, to be honest, because I just don't think there was too much to take from it. We moved on
about minutes, wasn't it? So it was just about minutes, really, for players and trying to implement the structure from the new players that we got and the younger players that we got to try and implement them into the structure that we play. There was nothing to take from that game.
Just betting
from
lads
our point of view. Yeah. So yeah, no complaints from me about that. That's what we need to do. We needed to get some of those players getting some minutes, and it was obvious, as you said, that Columbus Crew were mid-season. They were far sharper than what we were as well.
100%, yeah. And again, I think that's a game you can just easily park up and put it down as, I don't want to say the cliche of minutes in the tank, but that's just what it is, like, I don't think it's not going to keep Unai Emery awake at night, because
no way.
So then we kind of moved on to RB Leipzig. Now, I didn't see as much of this game as you did. You were kind of updating us. I did get to flick in and out of it. From what I seen of it, I thought it was a very poor game. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your takeaway from that game?
I mean, from what I can remember, because these ones, they kind of skip you by when you sort of not had good performances. There weren't very many good performances. Again, I think it was a training exercise, a practice match to make sure players were getting minutes under their belt, and they were also trying to play in the structure that we play. There was nothing really to take from that game. There was what I would say though is Leipzig were really wanting to win this game. Like, they seemed that they wanted to win. They got a bit tasty in some places as well. So they wanted to win the game. It was more about minutes for us. They scored a goal. I think it was from a mistake that we made. I think the ball was given away or something by Barkley or something like that, and they scored a goal there. Yeah. And the other goal was pretty much poor defending. But again, I think, what I think in that game, that this is the game I think that Carlos got sent off, right? So there was him and Openda. I think his name was Openda. Yeah, they were having some sort of thing going on through the match, and it just got a bit juicy, and they were after each other a lot and having words with each other throughout the game. And then it got to the point where Openda scored his goal and had a few verbals to say to Carlos, and then Carlos reacted to that. Like kind of grabbed him round by the chest, but Openda went down like he'd been shot. I was trying to get away from the cliche, but that's what it was. Yeah. And then it was a second yellow card, and it was off for him. So the second half, I actually thought was a lot better. I thought we played in a way that, if in a match we are down to 10 men, how we're going to play and how we're going to defend and how we're going to try and counter attack. And I thought the second half was actually a lot better. It could have been that Leipzig had stepped off the gas. They were winning 2-0. They were trying to keep the ball as much as possible because Villa couldn't get the ball in the first half. But second half, saw some really promising movements, and I think Tielemans came on, Ramsey came on, Buendia came on, and there seemed to be some sort of cohesion between those players at some points during that second half. Again, we didn't score a goal. I don't think the keeper had a save to make, if I can remember rightly. I might be mistaken. But it was just another training exercise. I thought the second half was really good in terms of how we defended and how we played compact, how we were trying to keep the ball a lot better than we did in the first half with 10 men. So slight caveat. I thought the referee kind of let the game get out of hand, and in a friendly game, you don't really want to be sending players off. Should have been one of those where you kind of say to the manager, look, he's pushing his luck here. I'm going to send him off if he has one more, and kind of let the manager know, take him off, so that 11 players can actually play together and get that pre-season friendly.
No one gets anything out of it when they go to 10 men. Neither team benefits. You know what I mean?
No, and I thought the referee was poor in that instance. I think I've seen in friendlies before where things have got a bit tetchy, and the referee will go to the manager and say, look, if you don't get him off right now, then I'm going to send him off, and the manager will take him off to make sure that no one's getting sent off in what is supposed to be a friendly or a practice match.
Yeah.
So that was my only sort of bad feeling about that. But again, we got minutes under. It was really good to see Buendia. Really good to see Buendia come in. He looked sharp.
JJ and Buendia get some minutes is very important.
Yeah, JJ looked sharp for a few minutes. He came on and got subbed off again. So I don't know the purpose of that, of why he came on and got subbed off in that second half. But yeah, Buendia came on and he looked really sharp and trying to find his fitness, and he was all over the place, and he looks like one of those players that we can use next season, who's going to hold up the ball, keep possession. Did a really good job with Tielemans as well. Tielemans, I'm wondering whether Tielemans is the Dougie replacement.
Could be,
based on what I've seen in that Leipzig match, but then also again watching him just in this last match against Club America. No, what are they called?
Yeah, the Mexican team, Club America this morning. Yeah, it was,
Club America. Yeah. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the sort of Leipzig game. Did you see any of it, or just?
I didn't see a whole pile of it. No, I seen a bit of it. Yeah. I think we're very flat, and again, I think the red card makes it difficult to get anything out of it, really, apart from maybe getting minutes in people's legs again. But Carlos needs to get a bit of a reality check, though. Like he sometimes he has a bee in his bonnet. I've noticed that a lot. Like he can get distracted in games very easily, and that's a bit of a concern, to be honest.
He didn't get a red last season, did he? Did he get a red? He didn't get sent off last season, did he?
I was good for a yellow, though, wasn't he?
Yeah. But just I remember when we signed him, there were a lot of rumours and people talking about he's a really good player, but he has a tendency to get sent off and stuff. And I thought he might be a liability last season, but I didn't see a red card. I mean, he'll get a yellow here and there, and he's a bit of a feisty player sometimes. But in a pre-season match, I think he should have done a lot better, to be honest. I think there was a challenge earlier that he did, and I can't remember it, to be honest, but I think it was somewhere where he's kind of nudged Openda off the ball, and I don't know if he went in with his elbow. I can't remember, and I haven't watched it back. So others might be able to tell us or give us some feedback in the comments, or just let us know whether he should have been sent off before that, actually.
Yeah, look, I don't think it was a red, but Carlos needs to keep his hands to himself there. Don't even give the referee a decision to make, you know what I mean? Again, I think that there's the positives here straight away, though. Buendia getting minutes and JJ getting minutes, and so that brings on to this morning's game, Tes. I'm going to be honest, I didn't see any of this because I had a big night on the Bears last night, so I had a nice little lie-in for myself this morning, so I don't miss too many games, but I was willing to sacrifice this one because it was 5:30 a.m. and kick-off for me. But do you want to tell us a little bit about this game? I see Joe Gauci started in goal, and we'll start with him. What have you made of him over pre-season? He's featured in all three games. Have you been impressed? Do you see a future for him in this team?
It's really hard to say with Joe Gauci because in the first game he conceded 3 in the first half. I think that was a Cucho hat trick.
Yeah, 3 good finishes, Test, to be fair.
They were good finishes. Yeah. There were moments though when we were doing that playing out from the back situation where he didn't look comfortable, in my opinion. He didn't really look that comfortable, didn't kind of put his foot on the ball and wait to see who's in space and to do that passing out play.
Yeah.
Didn't really have a save to make because they were good finishes. It's really hard to judge him, to be honest, on that on that first game. The second game, I don't know if he played in the set. Did he play against Leipzig? I thought that it
I
was
don't think so.
Olsen
I
that
think
started.
it was Olsen and Zodiac, is it?
Yeah, so Olsen I think started the second game, and then he got injured. One of the players kind of kneed him in the face when they had scored their goal, and he went off. And then they brought on Zeich.
Yeah. How did he
And
do?
yeah, when I've watched him compared to watching Joe Gauci, I actually think he looks more confident than Joe Gauci as a goalkeeper,
Yep.
especially with that playing out from the back sort of situation. I think there was one little small error where he did this pass, which was a little bit dangerous and was lucky. But other than that, like Martinez does, when we've got the ball and we're going through, he's got the ball around his box, he'll put his foot on the ball and just wait for
Yep.
players to get in their positions. And I didn't notice that about Joe Gauci when he was playing. So
Yep.
I was wondering whether there's going to be a battle to see who's going to be the number 2. I wrote that down somewhere. I was like, I wonder if this is the battle for who's going to be the backup to Emi Martinez. And so
Interesting,
far,
isn't it? 'Cause
because
there's not any rumors linking us to keepers or anything like.
there's no rumours linking us to keepers. And I felt Ziyech did pretty well. Seemed assured. He made a couple of saves and all these sorts of things. Joe Gauci did make a really good save this morning, I think it was. But we were actually poor at that moment, and yeah, good save from him. But so far, if I was to say who would be the number 2, I think I like the look of Ziyech a little bit better, actually. Just seems a little bit more confident, a bit more sure than Joe Gauci at this stage. But again, we've played teams where we've hardly had the ball at all. We haven't really imposed ourselves on the game. Goals have been scored from mistakes that we've made. So really hard to tell at this time. But I think there is a genuine battle there to see who might be the number 2.
Without being too negative, because we don't like to go down that road too much in this podcast, the negative podcast. But I think it's fair to say that I don't think any of them would bring me with confidence if Martinez was to get injured before the West Ham game. I don't think I'd be super confident in Olsen, Ziyech, or Gauci, if I'm honest. And I hope they prove me wrong, but you should probably have to go with Olsen in that situation just because he's the experienced one out of him.
He is the experienced one, and I. So while the game was going on and he was playing, I was like watching the first part, and I said, "Oh, Olsen looks like he's playing a bit confident today. Like he seems like he was assured, getting hold of the ball and stuff." And then 2 minutes after I posted that in our chat, not even 2 minutes, it was 30 seconds or something like that. They scored, and I'd deleted the message, and Rhino mentioned, how well has he done? He was on the ground injured, obviously, and he went off a concussion. But I was just like, oh my God, I must be cursing him, because I just said how I think he looks a bit confident and looks like he can do a job today. And then he gets injured. Well, they score, and then he gets injured. So I deleted that message really quickly, but Ryan's seen it already.
It's always the way, isn't it? What
Yeah.
what was your overall take from the game today? So because it was an interesting lineup too, because we started with Cameron Archer up top. We had Bailey and Rogers up with him. We had Bogard and Pau Torres at the back.
Yes.
We had Matty Cash right back. We had Luca Dean, I'm going to say left back. Was it Matson or Luca Dean started today?
Matson started the game.
Matson started the game, yeah.
Matson started the game.
Yeah, and then in midfield we had did Onana start in midfield?
Onana started in the midfield with
Tielemans.
Yeah, with Tielemans, yeah. Yes. We looked okay, we looked like we were trying to play the game. It was a kind of open game. I think when we had a look at who was playing today, they played okay. My standouts, I guess, for the first half were Tielemans. I thought he was really good. John McGinn was really good. And Lamar Bogart. So he played centre-back, and he looked really, really good. He didn't look out of place at all, especially in terms of the way that we play, playing out from the back, as we've mentioned a few times so far. He looked comfortable with Pau Torres. He looks pretty quick. Did a really, really good challenge when they were on goal. and played the first half and came off the second half. But I thought he looked promising. So I don't know if he's one of those players that are looking to go out on loan. If he's going to go out loan, he should go out to a pretty good, championship team or something like that, where he's going to actually get minutes and play. I thought he would look assured, and he looked pretty good to me.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, because he's one of them ones that have been highly regarded in the academy for a long time, but just he's always on the preseason tours and stuff, but he just never seems to be on that match day squad anymore. Like so,
I think he's growing. I think he's growing.
Yeah.
I think he's growing into, like, we haven't seen Feeney since that first game.
He's gone on loan, though, is he?
Oh, did he? Did he go out on loan?
Did he go on loan? Was it him or Sil Sinks? I don't know. One of them has gone to Shrewsbury, I think. I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was only aware that Barry went out. I think Louis Barry's gone.
He's gone back to Stockport.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he done really well with Stockport last year in League Two before he got his injury, Louis Barry, and then they've obviously got promoted. They came up with Wrexham, so they'll be up to League One this year, and they've obviously taken him back. So that's a really good move for him. I think he gets to go back to a club that he's already familiar with, but it's up a level. So it makes a lot of sense. I think
it makes
for
total
him.
sense.
I had been told by a pretty reliable source that he was heading to Wrexham, but it just never seemed to materialise. So I ended up at Stockport instead. But no, good move from him. I like that. I think
the fact that he's been at the club for a long time now, Louis Barry, because we got him from Barcelona or something, did we? Somewhere like that.
Yeah, the Academy of Barcelona. Yeah.
The fact that he's still getting loaned out and we're still keeping him there means
he signed a new contract. They gave him a new contract.
So somebody thinks that he's still a good prospect. But really, sorry, back to Lamar Burgard. I thought he was really, really good in that first half.
Just with Louis Barry there. Sorry. Sorry. Yes. You're saying. I wonder though, is it a case with him that like his value would be low after his injury and all that? Now, are they do they see a future with the club, or do they see a future of a good price for him down the line? That's what I'd be kind of wondering. Like,
if he's going to go and play in League One, and he can prove himself at that level, then we don't know what's next. It could be that the next stage for him is if he gets a couple of goals or gets a few goals in League One, the next step might be going to a championship if Stockport don't go up.
Yeah.
So then he might get the next move up to play in the championship and see if he can manage at that level, and he can score goals at that level. But signing a new contract, it means that potentially he's either a player that can help the club in the future, or we'll get a decent fee for him, maybe to a championship club or someone like that who sees him playing in League One, and if he's scoring goals for fun, then a championship team might want to buy him and we'll get a good price for him, or he can go out on loan in the championship and try to prove himself at that level. So we'll see.
Yeah, interesting. And I'm sorry I interrupted you about Lamine Borgard there, but so he's one of the ones for you that you would tick off as a positive game today.
I thought he was really good. I thought he was, well, that's my opinion. I thought he was really good. He didn't look out of place to me, and he played alongside Pau Torres, Matty Cash, and Ian Martin as well.
Just with Onan and Matson, what's obviously you can't take too much of them now because the boys are obviously being spoon fed back in after, because the both of them are at the Euros and that, and probably came back from their holidays a little earlier than they probably would have had they been going back to their previous clubs. But what have you made of them so far? I think with Onan, for myself, I think looking, it is good to see someone big in the middle, isn't it? Like
really good to see someone like imposing in the midfield. What I like about him is that he's always on the move to me. He always seems like he was on the move. I think he's a little bit rusty still, like in terms of the passing and finding that movement and sort of the cohesion with our other players, because obviously he doesn't know them and how to play with them yet. But he still looked really good. Like in terms of fitness, looked good for what we were playing. He was trying to adapt to the way that we play. He seemed to be playing a lot further back with Tielemans at some points, but then it looked like they were changing sometimes Tielemans would drop and then Onana would go. I think he had an opportunity to score, actually, Onana, a bit further forward. Ball kind of crossed in and he's kind of, it's too low for him to header. It's trying to flick it. Didn't go in or anything. But it was nice to see him play. I'm hoping that he gets some cohesion with the other players, with the John McGinns and with the Tielemans to improve. And I think he will. I think he's going to get it.
Yeah, no, I think he's going to be a very good addition, and I think as well we just have to give him a little bit of bidding in time, because to be fair to him, he's not just adjusting to a new club, but he's adjusting to a whole new style as well. Because the difference between Emery ball and Sean Dyche ball is it's night and day, and so like he probably hasn't. I try not to be disrespectful to Everton here, but like look, we know what they are, So yeah. He's probably not played proper football for 12 days. Maybe 2 years, apart from his time in Belgium. And that's not being disrespectful to Everton. That's they play to their strengths and it works for them, But unfortunately, their strength isn't playing the ball on the floor. So it'll be interesting to see how he adjusts from that side of the game, because he definitely has football in those legs, So it's good. And I suppose knowing Tielemans so well from their time at Belgium together, that's going to help in the middle as well.
For sure.
And I think John McGinn is such an odd style of footballer, like in a good way, that I think he can fit in to play with anyone, if you get me. You know what I mean? I mean, there's like he's not kind of humstrung with the kind of midfielders he can fit in with. I think you could put John McGinn pretty much in with any midfield combination and he'd be effective.
He kind of played on the left side, McGinn, too. So I think Onana and Tielemans played sort of in the middle. And McGinn was kind of off to the left and Bailey was on the right. Something about Onana, what I like is that he's a big unit, He's a really big unit. And I think we've lacked that kind of character, those characteristics in our midfield. He's somebody who, if the ball's kicked out, you have those midfield batters and you want to win that first header. He's that type of player that can do that. But not only just win the sort of first header or anything, he can get the ball, get hold of it, lay it off, pass, move, and I think we've lacked somebody with a bit of strength and height in order to do that. And if we're chasing back or anything like that, he's also really good at that. He's got long legs, quite pacey, and he can get those long leg challenges in as well. So I think there's still a lot of improvement to come working with our team, but I think he's going to be a really good asset for us.
Yeah, and he gives us height in both boxes as well, which I think is absolutely vital. It's something we're desperately lacking. What have you made of Cameron Archer? Do you think he's just passing by, or do you think he's just popping in to say hello and he's heading off again, or do you think that he's being a part of the squad? Like, is he only there at the moment because Watkins isn't? And I don't want to be unfair to him, but I don't see where he fits into this team. I just don't, unfortunately.
We don't have another striker other than Watkins at the moment, to be honest. In terms of what we've been doing in pre-season, it's almost felt like we haven't played with a striker because we haven't been getting shots on target, really. I know Cameron Archer scored that goal, which was really good finish. But there were elements today where he got, I can't remember how many minutes, but he started the second half, and there were a few times where he was given opportunities to get in and score, and he fluffed those lines, to be honest. It was almost, if it wasn't a pre-season game, I'd be frustrated. He was getting into the spaces, that he was getting the deliveries, and it was just that first touch or that next touch that he did that kind of took the ball away from him, so he wasn't going to get in that position to score a goal. It's interesting that you're asking about whether he's staying or going. I'm struggling to see how he fits in at the moment, and I really like Cameron Archer. I'm struggling to see whether he's going to be able to adjust to the way that we play in order to be able to score goals for us in case something happens to Ollie, or Ollie's going to be given a rest and we need somebody else to step in. If we had a player that was happy to stay with us, I would always go with that. So I would probably go with him over Archer. You know, in terms of would I feel safe going into a cup match, knowing that we need to get through to the next round and put Archer in? I would probably put the other guy in.
Yeah.
I think at this stage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Possibly a move elsewhere if it's a permanent one. I'm not sure what a loan deal would do.
Yeah. I just kind of think he probably owes it himself now to go away and find a home for himself, because I said in a previous episode that it's almost like he's lost the year at Sheffield United, like all that momentum he'd built up. And I said it till I'm blue in the face. I still think Stephen Gerrard done him wrong by keeping him that season. And again, I think he buckled to fan pressure. And I won't go into that too much now because I said my piece on that in the previous episode. But that was the time to send him on loan, and then he went out after and went to, when Emery came in, and he done really well, in Middlesbrough. And but he should have had a full season there, He done the championship.
He didn't even get minutes as well. That's the thing. If you're going to keep someone there, you've got to give them minutes, and that was a little bit of what I was thinking last season when we had Ollie would play 90 minutes in some games. He just didn't need to play 90 minutes, but it was a good opportunity on some of those games to bring in John Duran to give him some minutes, and he didn't get that much minutes. Now, I don't know the reason why, but that's the problem, though. If you only play the one striker and you don't give anyone else any minutes, it's really tough for them to come into a game and sort of make an impact, So
the issue for me, though, Tess, is is that you look at our systems. Like, which of our systems does Amran Archer fit into? Like you can see where John Duran can make a difference and fit in coming off the bench. But the only place I could see Archer really making a difference and having any chance of nailing down a place is maybe coming off the bench to go, and when we're moving to two up top, maybe Watkins isn't doing it and Duran and Archer both come off and completely change the shift. Well, there's going to be no shape that we play for the start of a game that Archer will be nailed on for a starting place, I think. And that's why I think at his age, he's obviously talented. Like, is he Champions League talented? I'm not so sure. I think he was a bit overrated for hat-tricks against Barrow and a couple of good performances against Chelsea in the Cup and that, He's obviously a good finisher. He went down to Middlesbrough, he done really well down there. He went to Preston, done really well down there. Go and get yourself a loan. Go and get yourself a decent move to the Championship, Either that, or I'd look at someone like Ipswich should be looking at him, because he's a goal scorer. Sheffield United was the wrong move from last year, and I don't want to be hindsight, but it was the wrong move from him,
It's really tough for those players as well when they're going to a club that's come up from the lower league and then they're fighting to stay in the Premier League. You would have been better off served going to a sort of mid-table club to see if he could, in the Premier League, to see if he can do something there where, they've got more of an opportunity to stay in the league. But yeah, it really, even when I'm thinking now, I'm thinking in the system that we play, would Rodgers actually be ahead of him in terms of you can shift Rodgers over into that kind of position as well if Ollie's not playing? I think he could do. I think he could do that, and that's why I'm. Yeah, really interesting with Cameron Archer because I like him. I think he's a good finisher, but it's hard to see based on what I've seen in the preseason, be it preseason, where he fits the style enough to warrant fighting for a place next season.
Yeah, and obviously we haven't been on the podcast since this came about, but we spoke about John Duran on the last podcast, and obviously he's been up to a few antics in between our podcasts, and John Duran is a bit of a kind of, I don't know where I'm at with it, I can understand that he has to leave the club kind of in a way now because he's almost isolated himself in the club, but take away his behavior for a second, he's exactly what we need as in from a backup. He's a different type of player to Ali. He's big enough to play that lone striker role. He's aggressive, he's ideal. He's completely different to Cameron Archer.
I find him exciting as a player too. Whenever I've seen John Duran come on, you just don't know what he's going to do. He comes on and he creates mayhem. In the first couple of games he came on for us last season, I think he played almost as a right winger for for a period, but he would win a header and get the ball and run down the wing and do a cross or something. And there's other times where you think, oh, don't get sent off here, like be silly and stuff. And then obviously against Liverpool, he I think that's when it looked like he made up his mind. He's like, I've just been brought on when we're getting battered, and then I've come on and I've scored 2 goals, and I'm walking off now, and I can't even get any minutes here. I still think he's a really good player. I think he would be a very good backup. I don't know whether his agents are trying to get him the move more than he is, to see if he can get an increase in his salary, if he can get more game time. Really tough one to know. He's young, very raw still. What I don't understand is when you've come from MLS and you come to the Premier League, it doesn't mean that you spent what, 15 to 18 million pounds on a player. It doesn't mean that you're going to walk into the Premier League squad and be first choice. You've got to earn that right, and he hasn't earned the right, to be honest with you. So I haven't really been paying much attention to all the antics. I know there was some sort of, first of all, it was Chelsea, and then looks like Chelsea kind of like, oh no, we're not interested in that type of player coming here. He's going to be disruptive. And Villa have obviously said there's a price for him, and I don't think West Ham can meet that price. And so at the moment, that deal looks kind of dead at the moment, especially as West Ham look like they've gone in for another striker that could be close. They could be close. So I don't know what happens with John Duran. I don't think we should bow and just give him his move because he wants it and he's acting up. I think we get what we're asking for, so then he can leave.
If the rumours or reports are to be believed, the sticking point apparently at the moment is that Villa want a certain amount of percentage for a selling on clause. So if that is true, right, we'll take that as it's true for a minute, right? That tells you all you need to know. Obviously, Villa see that there is a possibility that this fella could go on and be an unbelievable name in world football. He's got all the attributes, but I don't think he has. Well, at the moment, like, he can change. At the moment, it's pure behavioural with him. Like, Emery likes people that are controlled in games, and he's the direct opposite to control. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing if you're trying to add something different for the last 20 minutes, And I think if Emery had the chance, he'd keep him, But you got to think of the harmony in the other squad, and maybe he's just not integrating very well because he comes across as a bit mad. And with John McGinn's interview after the Liverpool game, where he said, like, you're thinking, come on, big man, show a bit of respect, And John McGinn is a super captain. He's always bigging up his players in interviews and stuff after. So for him to say that, it told me a lot. So the players are probably just a bit fed up with him as well. And sometimes you could be the best player in the world, but you just don't fit with that group. And there's so much positivity around the club at the moment. Now Emery's probably just thinking, look, it's just not worth it. But I don't want to let him go without us getting a slice of the pie if he does hit the potential that we think he has,
And rightly so, because that would happen with other clubs.
Yeah.
We're not that club just to get rid of players anymore just because they want to go, or keep players because they want to stay anymore. We're not that club anymore. We've kind of moved away from that. And if we...
Big club. Sorry, it's big club mentality, isn't it? Like,
yeah, absolutely. And I agree with it. I think there's a price for him, and if he wants to go, that club has to pay that price, and then they have to agree to the deal. If there's a sell-on clause or anything like that, or performance-related bonuses and all these sorts of things, then that club that wants him has to pay it, because that's what we value him at. What I think he should do is knuckle down for the next season and try and integrate with the players, and he might get his opportunity. I think he would. He'd get an opportunity to play. He'd get to play Champions League football. That would give him loads of experience. And it would put him on the market again for a lot more clubs. But at the moment, he's not playing for Villa as a starter. And he went to the Copa America, I believe. And I don't think he played.
I think he played 14 minutes in like the third group game that was already done. They were through. So if he's not, like, they're not even littered with massive strikers like the Colombian team. So, like, I think it's always easy for us to say he's being badly advised, but I don't know. I just think he'd want to get a bit of a grip of himself and just realize where he is and what he's doing at his age. And he got more minutes towards the end of last season, but he obviously believes he should be starting. And look, yeah, maybe that's the right attitude. Maybe this guy has full belief in himself. But the thing for me though is the games he has started for us, he hasn't done anything. That like he's been impactful off the bench. What he's got to do is just keep being that impactful off the bench, and then eventually he'll get a start. Ollie cannot play 60 games again, like he just can't.
No way.
There is opportunities. He started plenty of games in the Europa League group stage last year, Duran. He didn't do anything. All his positivity came off the bench, and he might argue, well, I never got a chance to get some rhythm going, and that's fair too. I don't want him to go, but I don't want him to stay. So you know what I mean?
That's all right. Just sit on the fence there, Spud.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, you can see his potential. It's one of those deals I think could actually come back and burn us. But I heard on a previous a separate podcast, another Villa podcast, can't remember which one, but someone made a very good point. They were saying, even if he were to leave now, I think it might have been Jacob Tanswell actually. If he were to leave now, it wouldn't be Villa's fault. It's not like if he's brilliant down the line, it's like, oh, look, what have Villa done? Because right now it's the right thing to sell him because he's not doing well in the club. He's like he's not a good squad member at the moment. So if Villa were to sell him but get a good price from now, you can't say anything but it's good business. But if you're a West Ham fan, right? Would you not be worried about your club? And I know this isn't the West Ham podcast, but just one run, John Duran. Would you be concerned? Because if this was happening with Villa, I'd be a little bit concerned. What's the direction of their plan? They were chasing a young up and coming striker, so that seemed to be where their focus was. And they didn't get him, and they went to the opposite end of the spectrum and got an aging striker. Where's their plan? There must be no plan there. They just must want a striker. I
think they just need a striker.
Yeah, I think Nicholas Fulkrug will be a very good signing for them because West Ham have a lot of height in their team and he's deadly in the ball. But you can't imagine them signing both of them. I think if Fulkrug signs for West Ham, that deal dead.
I don't know if they've got the budget to do that.
That's what I'm thinking.
I think if the cost banded around is what, £40 million. That's a lot of money then, plus add-ons.
And even if they do sign Fulkrug, then you've the issue for Duran again. Is he going to start every game? No, he's not. If they do sign the two of them, so
that's a really interesting one. And look, although we might get sick of talking about it, it's kind of a talking point because at the moment, the problem but the current concern with us so far is that we're not shooting at the goal. We're not having goal attempts, really. We don't look like we can manage without Ollie Watkins, even with the younger players. I mean, Cameron Archer went off, and then Lewis Dobbin. Is it Lewis Dobbin? Came on, and thought he was pretty non-existent, and he came on as a sub, and he went up top, and he looked non-existent to me for the time that he came on. Didn't seem like he was doing the running around or anything like that. Yeah, so it's interesting what will happen. I got this fly just buzzing around my head. I can hear it through my headphones as well.
I won't go too much into it now because obviously we'll be doing podcasts in the run up to that. But we'll be doing our preview podcast probably next weekend.
Yeah,
we'll be after playing Bilbao. We'll be after playing Dortmund. You could look at that and say the squad are miles off it at the moment but it's also still close to come. But you're going to look at Bilbao, the Bilbao game. Would you think that that's going to be somewhere towards the starting lineup, or do you think it'll be Dortmund before we can really tell?
I think by the time we have our next pre-season game, we'll have a few players back who will still need to be on their training and come back and be integrated back into the squad to get their minutes and stuff. So we're talking about Ezri Konsa, Emi Martinez, and Ollie Watkins. I think outside of those three players, I think we might start to see who will be sort of the first 11 players. Yeah. I think.
Yeah.
Defensively, it's also interesting though because we have Pau Torres, who's obviously the starter. Then you got Carlos, and then we got Ezri Konsa, and Tyrone Mings is due to come back if reports are correct that he might be back in early September.
It's great.
And joining with. I can't wait to see him back, just wearing the colours and hopefully getting a few games and seeing if he can fight his way back into the squad as well.
Yeah.
I don't know how it will work, but we'll need him because there's a lot of games to play next season. Lamar Bogard, does he stay around? Because what happened today is we had Luca Dean playing left centre back in the second half, and then we had Dondonka playing right centre back. And for those who are listening to the podcast, I'm just listening on Apple or Spotify. I'm shaking my head. We can't do that during the season. I mean, it would be suicide to do that during the season. I think Luca Dean did some all right things, but yeah, I have concerns if we're playing better opposition about. I think it's just the pace. I think Dendonka's pace, because he's a tidy footballer. I like watching him. You know, if he's playing in midfield, he's quite a tidy player, but he's really, really slow. And that would be a concern for me. I would play the youngster Bogard ahead of Dendonka if we had to play another centre back.
Have you been impressed with Barrenechea?
So he's had quite a few minutes.
Yeah.
He doesn't look strong on the ball to me when I watched him. Like in fact, so far the preseason, there's nothing that's really said to me, oh, he looks like a good player. I thought in the earlier games against, before we went to America, it looked like he was okay. But then you look at the opposition to see, well, a bit different. But when he has played, he hasn't really looked like he's one of those players that are going to take a starting place in the team. In fact, today when I watched him, he looked a little bit soft on the ball in the midfield at times. In short, the answer to your question, no, not really, not yet. But I'm sure once he gets used to the way that we're playing and he needs to come on and do a job, I'm sure we'll see a lot of improvement there. It's still early days, but there's nothing so far that has said to me, yeah, looks like a really, really good play. And similar with Illing Jr. In what I've seen of him so far in the preseason. Haven't seen anything to sort of get me off my seat to say that there's a starter there. So
yeah, time will tell, because we are going to have a lot of games this season, so it will be interesting. There will be game time there for them, I'm sure. Maybe them kind of guys have League Cup early rounds written all over them,
it's too early for me to judge them like that as well. I'm just saying, so I'm just going based off what I've seen so far.
No, 100%, and that's all you can give your opinion on, Tes, and what you've seen so far,
what I've seen so far, and look, they're getting minutes into them, and they've still got to learn the way that we play. So that's also not easy, because there are other players that we had last season who had to take their time to get integrated into the squad to actually start playing and getting selected. So that's a process.
Yuri Tillemans is a perfect example of that.
Yuri Tillemans is a perfect example. Yeah. He has impressed me so far, what I've seen him play so far this season. I think potentially he is that player that can do the job that Douglas Luiz did in terms of, getting hold of the ball and distributing the ball and being that playmaker. I feel like he's done a pretty good job in these games so far.
I see Moussa Diaby scored his debut for Ali. He had in a friendly today.
Oh, did he?
He did. Probably got a couple of million bonus for it.
Well, good luck to him. Look, he came for a year. I really enjoyed his message to the club. I thought that was class, absolute class, to say, thanks to all the Villa supporters and stuff, and wish us well and all that sort of thing. And they made an effort to do that. They had, artwork and stuff on their social medias to say thanks to Villa fans. So I wish him all the best.
No, fair play to him, yeah. And if we got a nice price from him, we would shake his hand and move on. And he'll always be remembered for being part of this season where we qualified for the Champions League. I have no ill will towards him. I think it's just one of them deals. Again, a cliche of just one of the deal that everybody, that
We
sort of
discussed it,
everybody
didn't we?
enjoys.
A few
Yeah,
pods ago, we discussed it, and I said that, you know, if we can get our money back from at least, then it was something I'd be prepared to do if it was my decision, because I think we've got other players that can play in the positions that he was doing last season.
yeah. So a couple of good pre-seasons coming up now. A couple of big tests against Bilbao and Dortmund, where we're getting closer to the season. What are we today? We're the 4th of August. You know, the first game is the 17th, so we're getting there. 2 weeks yesterday. We'll be kicking off against West Ham. Interesting times ahead. We said we'd do a bit of a shorter one tonight, Tez. We still managed to get 50 minutes out of it, but we covered a bit of the preseason. It's kind of hard at the moment. It's that kind of period of there's not a lot happening with the transfer scenario. The clubs are still doing their kind of preseason tour. Getting a lot of good content out there with their Villa crest up in the middle of Times Square in New York. That was
That was brilliant, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was pretty impressive.
Did you see the snapshots of, they had Floyd Mayweather as well having a face off with one of the fighters that I think he's going to be facing, and right behind them in Times Square was naturally the winner. That was awesome. I was like, that's fantastic. Like, just to also, like, you know, when the kit got released and stuff, we were raving about the video and the release video and all that kind of stuff. Really, really good. And then the kit got released, and I was like, oh, I wonder when it's going to get released in Australia. Like, how long is it going to take for it to? It was the next day. Like, well, pretty much. It was in JD Sports, ordered. Just saying, come on. By the way, for all those who are listening on Apple and Spotify, I'm like going mad because I've got my brand new shirt on. Feels really good. The sizes are pretty good as well. Just a bit of feedback on the badge there, though, on the crest. Does seem a little bit like like if you look at the Adidas side, it's all stitched in, like kind of stitched, and then the crest is kind of not stitched, so it just looks a little bit like less effort went into the crest to me. So
yeah, it is starting to looking at it there, like, I mean, it sticks out, there's no doubt about that. The test, and it's a really nice jersey. It looks good on the players, and I think it'll be a big hit.
And the
I really
training
like
gear
it.
too.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's really good to do this now, and it's good to see them making such an effort for the for the branding and everything. Like, it's definitely, I mean, you see the in America yesterday where they had like Matson and JJ and Morgan Rogers go to the JD Sports, and they had Morgan Rogers' mother coming into them, and it's really good stuff, you know.
It's just making everything's looking really good for us as a club, branding wise, the advertising wise, all that kind of stuff is looking really, really good. I'm really excited about it, to be honest with you. I don't think I've seen Villa being advertised in this way before. You know, like, Times Square's a big deal. To get an advert on those billboards up in Times Square is a big deal.
It's massive,
and to have your football kit in the shops, just like the Manchester Uniteds of this world and Liverpools of this world, is a big deal to me. 120 countries this Villa top is in. It's
very
unbelievable stuff. So yeah, I'm super pumped and super excited, and I was so glad that I could just order mine from JD Sports and then have it delivered. It took a week, mind, but I got it.
No, it's really good, and I don't want to get too far ahead because we're in the middle of pre-season, but I really hope next pre-season they'll come back to this side of the world, because they've obviously done two tours in America now, and that's obviously going to be a big market for them. But hopefully they'll be due to do like an Asia trip or something next year again, and it'd be nice to see them back on the Southern Hemisphere, and maybe a trip to Singapore on the cards or something, you know. So it all depends. But I did notice that the Leipzig game very empty, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, I don't know what happened there. There wasn't many supporters there. I guess, yeah, difficult for Villa fans to travel to the United States and and just be able to turn up and go to one of the games. I'm sure if you went there, you would have got a ticket for sure. There was quite a lot of space. I thought it would have been a little bit. I thought it would have had a few more supporters there, but it might be the fact that it was Aston Villa and Leipzig, two teams from different countries, whereas I think there are more local teams like the Club America from Mexico is more local, and there were quite a lot of Mexican people in the United States. Would have been easy for them to travel.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And of course, you've got to understand too, like a lot of the Villa fans will be saving their money to go away in the Champions League this year, and what I mean.
Yeah, they want to get to the final, so.
Tess, we just wanted to have a little catch up about the pre-season. We've done that, and we'll jump on again next weekend, and we'll have us all back together next weekend, and we're going to do probably a full preview of the season. That'll be coming up because that'll probably be our last pod before the kick-off of against West Ham, and we'll cover what we've seen in the Bilbao and the Dortmund game, and I'm sure there'll be a bit more to discuss out of those two games, and maybe a bit more transfer news. Can you just let people know there where they can find the podcast, and for those watching and for those listening, please, Des?
Yeah, so if you're listening, you can find me at Cuban_Night, KNIGHT, and you can find us on the Villa Pride at Villa Pride Down Under on Instagram and at Pride Down Under on X, and also we have a Facebook page. So please send us some comments, some feedback, get in touch so we can communicate with you, especially to our Aussie friends and Aussie Lions clubs.
Yeah, and again, I'm saying it every week, but just the listeners and the viewers again, like the following has been excellent. It's really growing well, and we're very happy with it. The subscribing numbers are going up, the likes are going up. All that stuff is really helping us, and just thanks to everybody. And look, if it is your first time listening tonight, just hit that subscribe button for us. Hit that like. It doesn't cost you anything, but it does help us. And we're not looking to take money off anybody. All we ask for you is just to give a little like to the page, give the page a little like, and help us, because that just help us get out there and reach a few more listeners. But it is steadily growing, and we're very happy with that. And we're going to have a few guests coming on over the next couple of months, and all that kind of thing. So we have a lot of content, and obviously with the season starting, and main thing as well, it's going to be a Champions League season, so there's going to be lots and lots happening, plenty to talk about. And we all head into Munich next year for the Champions League final. Perfect.
So looking forward to that. That's going to be great. I should get my ticket organised to get to Germany now.
So guys, hit that like, hit that subscribe, and we will chat to you soon. And don't forget, hit us on Instagram, any one of us, hit us on Twitter, hit us on Facebook, send in questions. We're more than happy to discuss any topics you guys have for us, and there will be a couple of giveaways announced and stuff over the next few.
Yes, there will. I'm so excited about the giveaways.
So keep your ear out for that. And there's also our fantasy football Premier League game. So
yeah, have you got the code there with you? Have you got the code to?
Yep, I have the code. We'll pin it on top of our socials as well. Sorry, no, I don't have it with me. Professional as.
I'll make sure when we release the video that I'll put the Fantasy League up on our lower titles there.
80Y8BP, but I'll send it to Tess and he can put it in the description. But join that, free to join again, and the winner will get an Aston Villa related prize at the end of the season. Tess gets very competitive about the fantasy football, so every few weeks Tess will give updates on the ladder and stuff. So yeah, just again a little bit of fun and stuff, and yeah, just keep tuning in and keep sharing and doing all that fun stuff for us for the pod. And thanks a million. We'll chat to you again soon. Up the Villa.
Up the Villa. Let's go.